Welcome, the anointed ones. Never underestimate the pain of a person who smiles in public and bleeds in private. Because one day, their silence might erupt into a victory, so loud it makes the whole city whisper. Let's talk about what just happened, because something massive just went down, and no one saw it coming, except the chosen one. You. And now they're crying. Not just tears, but the kind of tears that stain pillowcases, require 3 bathroom breaks, and make you reconsider all your life choices. Why? Because the one they bet against just flipped the script in real time, without warning, without revenge, and without ever raising a hand, just a vibration. That's right. Your energy did what their drama could. Here's a fact for you. Psychologists have proven that the same parts of the brain that light up during physical pain also light up during social rejection and regret. So when people realize they mishandled a rare soul, the breakdown is real. Behind closed doors, they're not just crying, they're grieving the loss of control, access, and the fantasy that you'd never rise. But here's the real kicker. You didn't just rise, you became the reason they can't sleep. And not because you hurt them, but because they finally saw who they lost. And it's making their soul itch in places even Google can't help with. So sit tight, because what you're about to hear is not your average watch you glow up story. This is divine justice, psychological warfare, and karmic thunder, all rolled into one beautifully crafted spiritual plot twist. Let's dive in. Number 1. They just realized your survival destroyed their entire narrative. They just realized your survival destroyed their entire narrative, and that realization hit them like a truck. No warning, no seatbelt, no airbag. For the longest time, they were confident that the version of you they created would stick, the one they whispered about in secret conversations, the one they hinted at in public without ever saying your name. They painted you as the broken one, the unstable one, the one who was too much, too sensitive, or never going to make it. They told half-truths with whole conviction, knowing that most people wouldn't bother to ask you directly. They banked on your silence being proof of guilt. They counted on your struggles being permanent. And when you went quiet, not defeated but evolving, they thought they had won. In their mind, you were finished. Their lies were set in stone. The people around them believed it. They believed it. Until you didn't just survive, you transformed. You showed up again but different, stronger, clearer, at peace. No chaos, no bitterness. Just unbothered. And that was the real earthquake. Because now the version of you they describe no longer exists, and everyone sees it. Everyone notices. People who once doubted you are now confused. People who were distant are now curious. And the people who ran with the lie, they're sweating, they're pacing, they're crying behind closed doors. Not because they love you, but because they lost control of your image. The mask they glued onto your face is melting, and what's underneath is undeniable truth. This isn't just regret, it's panic. They realize they don't have the range to rewrite this story anymore. You're living proof the truth doesn't die, it just takes its time. And the wildest part, you didn't say a word, you didn't argue, post or plead your case. You just became the evidence. And now their words look ridiculous in the face of your reality. They're not crying because you came back. They're crying because you came back whole. And your healing ruined their entire performance. What they tried to bury rose higher than they ever imagined. And now they have to sit with the truth. That they created their own enemy by underestimating your ability to rise. Number 2, they see that your glow is not cosmetic, it's cosmic. They see now that your glow is not cosmetic, it's cosmic. At first they thought it was all surface level. Maybe it was your appearance, your social media, your clothes, your smile. They thought you just had a look, and that's what got people drawn to you. They believed the glow came from something you could buy, copy, or fake. But now they know it's something much deeper, and it's got them rattled. This glow, it wasn't created in a salon or with a filter. It came from isolation. It came from breakdowns, spiritual warfare, and quiet seasons where no one clapped for you but God. The radiance they see today is the result of everything you survived, and they know deep down they couldn't have made it through what you did. That's what has them shook. Not your looks, not your confidence, but the fact that your light comes from the fire, and they have no clue how you didn't burn out. They're starting to sense that it's not about popularity, it's about presence. It's the way people pause when you enter a room, the way your energy shifts the atmosphere even when you say nothing. That glow, it can't be copied. It's spiritual. It's divine timing. It's the frequency of someone who healed parts of themselves no one ever apologized for. And now they're frustrated because they can't figure out the formula. They can't buy it. They can't borrow it. They can't fake it. And when they try to replicate it, it always falls flat. Because your glow is the result of alignment, not attention. And alignment can't be photoshopped. They used to laugh. They used to mock. They thought you were weird, overly deep, or too different. But now they're crying, because what they dismissed turned out to be the exact thing people are drawn to. Your aura, your grace, your discernment. It's magnetic. And they know painfully that it's not something they can steal. They're realizing this light you carry doesn't come from the world. It comes from God. And trying to compete with something divine, that's a losing battle every single time. That's why they're crying. Because your glow didn't come from, and now they know it never needed them in the first place. Number 3. They were waiting for your breakdown, not your breakthrough. They were waiting for your breakdown, not your breakthrough. That's the part that stings the most. While you were fighting for your life in silence, they were watching from the sidelines, secretly hoping you'd fold every setback you faced. They didn't just observe it. They enjoyed it. They fed off the idea that you wouldn't make it through. They smiled to your face, but deep down, they were waiting for the moment you'd finally snap, collapse, disappear, or destroy yourself. To them, your pain was entertainment. Your struggle made them feel superior. It gave them a false sense of control. They thought, if you broke down, it would confirm everything they believed about you, that you were unstable too much, or not built for this life. So when you started disappearing from places and people, they assumed it was the beginning of your fall. They had no idea it was the start of your rise. They didn't know that during that quiet period, you weren't falling apart. You were being rebuilt. They couldn't see the work happening behind the scene. They didn't know about the sleepless nights, the shadow work, the deep spiritual lessons you were absorbing while they laughed. They didn't realize you were transforming into something untouchable, and now they're crying because the moment they feared the most just happened. You made it out. Not only did you make it out, but you came out unrecognizable, stronger, wiser, unavailable to the drama they once used to bait you. You've leveled up in ways they never saw coming, and the worst part for them, they can't stop it, undo it, or compete with it. Your breakthrough wasn't loud or flashy. It wasn't revenge. It was the quiet kind that hits harder than 1,000 words, the kind that leaves them speechless, scrambling and sick with disbelief. They're not just crying because you made it. They're crying because everything they hoped would break you only built you. And now they're left with the gut-wrenching truth. They underestimated someone who was never meant to lose, and the breakdown they were hoping for, it never came, but the breakthrough, it just broke them. Number 4, their conscience just got jump-started. Something massive just clicked in their psyche. It wasn't a small realization or a passing thought. It was a hard-hitting, full-body truth bomb that left them stunned. The kind of moment that freezes everything else and makes them question the lies they've been telling themselves for years. A moment where even their own ego couldn't protect them from the truth anymore. The guilt they buried under arrogance is now crawling out of its graves. They thought they could keep it hidden. They thought time, denial or distractions would kill it for good. But guilt has a way of resurrecting itself, especially when the one you wronged starts rising with undeniable favor. Now all those memories they shoved aside are chasing them like shadows that refuse to be ignored, and it doesn't whisper, it screams. It screams in the silence, when no one else is around. It screams in their dreams, in the mirrors they avoid, in the way their chest tightens every time your name is mentioned. It screams through headaches, anxiety, and sudden mood swings they can't explain. Because guilt, when it finally wakes up, comes back loud and aggressive. They're crying not because of you, but because of what they did to you. The tears aren't about your success or your glow-up. It's about their behavior. They're haunted by the role they played in your pain. The manipulation, the lies, the betrayal, the cruelty. It's hitting them all at once now, and they can't brush it off anymore. They know they crossed a line that their soul hasn't forgotten, and now karma has them in a chokehold. This isn't just regret, it's consequence. Things are falling apart in their life, and they're finally connecting the dots. Opportunities slipping, relationships turning cold, peace getting snatched from under them. It's not just bad luck, it's the energy they threw at you coming back around 10 times louder. They're trying to breathe, but karma isn't letting up. And the craziest part, it's only just begun. Their conscience is no longer quiet, and the truth is no longer optional. They're being forced to sit with every choice they made, and the very thing they tried to bury, you, has now become the ghost that haunts their peace. Number 5, they're crying because you didn't need revenge. You needed peace. They assumed you were plotting, angry or bitter. That was their comfort zone, believing you were stuck in resentment, stewing in pain, and obsessed with getting even. It helped them sleep at night, thinking they still had a grip on your energy. They told themselves you couldn't move on without closure, apology or justice. But the scariest truth just hit them. You let go. You didn't scream, you didn't expose, you didn't chase them down for an apology. You just released everything. The pain, the drama, the expectation of righting the wrongs. You let it all fall out of your hands, like it never belonged to you in the first place. You moved forward, not physically, but emotionally, spiritually, mentally. You reclaimed your energy and redirected it into healing, into creating, into growing. You didn't just walk away. You elevated, and your peace now speaks louder than anything revenge ever could, and you prospered. Not because you sought revenge, but because you sought God. You chose stillness over spite, growth over gossip, and purpose over pettiness. That prosperity, it's the fruit of your surrender, and the people who expected to watch you suffer now have front row seats to your abundance. Nothing is more terrifying to a narcissist than being erased without a word. You didn't fight back the way they expected. You didn't beg, explain, or try to prove your worth. You went ghost, not in silence, but in evolution. And to someone who thrives off control and attention, that disappearance feels like death. They're crying because they lost access, not just to you but to your energy. You were their supply. The person they poked for reactions, drained for validation, and kept around for emotional dominance. Now they're locked out, blocked, forgotten, irrelevant to your next chapter. Watching their victim win without a war is unbearable. They prepared for conflict. They were ready for a fight. But you never showed up to the battlefield. Instead you showed up in your purpose, glowing, protected, untouchable. That's what breaks them. Not your silence, not your distance, but the fact that you didn't need revenge to ruin them. Your peace did it for you. Number 6. You became their unspoken punishment. You became their unspoken punishment. They can't say it out loud, but every time your name comes up, something inside them twists. It's not just guilt, it's exposure. You didn't have to get revenge. You didn't need to prove a thing. You simply continued existing, and that alone turned into a sentence they can't escape. They can't explain it to others, but your presence is a living reminder of everything they lost through sabotage. When people mention you with admiration, they flinch. When they see you thriving, they're forced to replay the exact moment they chose ego over love, manipulation over honesty, or cruelty over decency. They remember how they tried to clip your wings, and now they're watching you fly past everything they thought you'd never reach. Your glow is a mirror. It reflects what they are not. It shows them the very traits they tried to suppress: authenticity, strength, light, love. And no matter how far they run or how well they pretend, the sight of you makes them feel like imposters in their own skin. Your healing exposes their dysfunction. Your progress highlights their stagnation. Your peace is a rebuke. It doesn't need to shout. It just sits there steady and unbothered. The very calm you carry reminds them of the chaos they live in. You used to react, cry, over-explain. Now you just are. And that lack of access to your emotions is driving them mad. They can't feed off your energy anymore, and that silence eats them alive. Your silence, it's not louder than words. It's sharper than any sword. It cuts deep because it says everything without saying anything. It tells them you've outgrown the game, that they don't even register on your radar anymore, and the fact that you no longer care, that's what haunts them. You're not angry, you're indifferent, you're not bitter, you're blessed, and that's what really punishes. You became the living proof that they fumbled someone divine, and every time they see you glowing, every time they hear your name, every time they realize you've become untouchable, they're reminded of what they'll never get back. And there's no one doing that. Number 7, they tried to curse you with their mouth, and now can't stop talking about you. They tried to curse you with their mouth, and now can't stop talking about you. At first it was all mockery. They talked about you like you were a joke, spreading gossip that was dripping with poison. They spoke with confidence, convinced that their words would shape how the world saw you. They wanted to turn people against you, stain your name, and plant seeds of doubt in every room your spirit hadn't even walked into yet. But the very words they used to tear you down are the same words now keeping you on their tongue. Except this time, it's not mockery, it's obsession. They thought they could speak your downfall into existence. Instead, they spoke your name so many times that they accidentally gave it power. Your resilience became the story. Your comeback became the conversation, and now they're caught in the trap they set for you. They talk about how you're still standing, how you didn't collapse, how you keep getting blessed when nothing should have worked in your favor. They whisper your name in confusion, trying to make sense of how you bounced back after everything. It's not admiration. You see, it's spiritual panic. They're not inspired. They're exposed. And no matter how far they distance themselves, they're tethered to your glow by the very curse they tried to speak. Their words created a cycle. Every time they thought they were burying you, they were watering your roots. Every insult fertilizer, every lie, a layer of pressure that made your breakthrough that much louder. And now they're in a loop, repeating your name, rehashing your story, rewatching your rise, trying to figure out where they went wrong. The irony is brutal. The mouth they used to destroy you is the same mouth being used to spread your legend. There is no escape route now. You've become their unresolved story, their greatest miscalculation, their daily reminder that curses don't stick when favor is real. And no matter how badly they wish they could erase you, they can't, because they built their own obsession. You're not just in their conversation, you're in their conscience, rent-free, permanent, and undeniable. Number 8. They realized too late that you were the blueprint, not the backup. They realized too late that you were the blueprint, not the backup. In their eyes, you were never the main one. You were the helper, the placeholder, the person they used until something better came along. They treated you like a spare part, useful in a crisis, but easy to toss aside once they felt in control again. They thought your value was temporary, and that someone else could easily fill your space. But what just happened proved you were the foundation. You weren't the extra. You were the structure, the steady presence, the one who brought vision, heart, and direction. Now that you're gone, everything they built is starting to fall apart. The friendships, the projects, the plans, nothing's working like it used. Nothing is holding up, because without your energy, your support, your essence. They're empty. They tried to replace you quickly. Some even bragged about doing better without you. But the truth is starting to show. The replacements can't think like you, move like you, or connect like you. They're realizing now that you weren't just involved. You were the reason things worked at all. And now that the glue is gone, everything is cracking. That's not just regret. That's despair. It's the kind of realization that sinks in slowly but painfully. They thought they had control. They thought they could discard you and upgrade. Instead, they threw away the very soul that made the space worth being in. Now they're scrambling to rebuild what they destroyed. But nothing fits. Nothing feels the same. Nothing holds up. The worst part for them is knowing they can't go back. You've outgrown the role they kept you in. You're no longer available to fix what they broke. And that's the real punishment. Watching the original they overlooked become the only one that could have held it all together. You weren't the plan B. You were the design, the source, the original vision. And now they're left with the crushing weight of their own ignorance. They didn't just lose you. They lost the only version of success they ever had a chance at. Number 9. They were addicted to your struggle, not your strength. They were addicted to your struggle, not your strength. They loved seeing you down. They were most comfortable when you were broken, confused, doubting yourself. That's when they felt the most powerful, when you needed help, validation, or guidance. Your pain made them feel important. It gave them a role to play. As long as you were low, they could pretend to be above you. They didn't just watch you suffer. They studied it. They measured it. They quietly took notes on your breakdowns, your missteps, your vulnerability. They offered help sometimes, but not because they wanted you better. They just wanted to be close enough to keep you small. Their version of support came with strings, shame, and quiet judgment. It was never about healing you. It was about keeping you wounded enough to need them. They fed on it. Your sadness was their comfort zone. Your weakness gave them a sense of control. They smiled when you cried, not always to your face, but definitely behind your back. Your struggle became their addiction, and they disguised it as concern. They said things like, "I just want to help," or "I'm here for you." But deep down, they feared the day you'd no longer need them. But now your strength exposes their emptiness. You've changed. You've outgrown the cycles. You don't break the way you used to. You found your center, your voice, your power, and without your pain to feed on, they don't know what to do with themselves. Your strength removed their mask. It stripped away the illusion of superiority they built around your suffering. They're crying because their source of ego is gone. They can no longer define themselves as the one who held you down or kept you together. You're no longer the broken bird they felt good rescuing. You've become something they never expected, self-sufficient, grounded and healed. And now their own reflection is unbearable. They're left to face who they really are when no one else is hurting around them. No one to fix, no one to control, just them. Empty, exposed, and irrelevant in the life they never thought you'd build without them. Number 10. God didn't just elevate you, He exposed them simultaneously. God didn't just elevate you, He exposed them simultaneously. This wasn't a quiet comeback. This wasn't a low-key level up that went unnoticed. This was loud. This was undeniable. This was divine timing with full exposure. And it caught them off guard. They were banking on your silence, hoping you would rise in secret, so they could pretend they were never part of your downfall. They thought your rise would be a private affair. They assumed that if you did heal, grow, or succeed, it would happen in silence. They hoped you'd move on quietly, so they could rewrite the story in their favor. They needed your comeback to be unseen, so they could keep the lies alive, the gossip spinning, and their reputation clean. But God made it public. He didn't just restore you, He showcased you. He made sure the very people who watched you break now have front row seats to your breakthrough. The same ones who laughed, mocked, or stayed silent are now being forced to witness your elevation. And there's no way to spin it, deny it, or cover it up. Your upgrade is being broadcasted to the same audience that witnessed your humiliation. That's the sting. Your blessing isn't just a win, it's a correction. It's a divine message. It says you were never who they said you were. Everyone who saw you suffer now sees you standing tall. Everyone who believed the rumors now has to face the results. And it's burning them up inside because the truth can't be undone. Now they're scrambling, not because you succeeded, but because everyone saw it. It's not your growth that's eating them alive. It's the exposure. It's the fact that people are talking. People are noticing. People are putting two and two together, and the spotlight that was once on your pain is now highlighting their role in it. That's the real issue. They can't hide anymore. What they did in the dark is now clashing with who you've become in the light. And no matter how hard they try to run from it, they're being forced to watch you thrive while the truth quietly strips them of every mask they wore. Number 11. Your healing interrupted their whole performance. Your healing interrupted their whole performance. They weren't just watching your pain. They were performing around it. They built entire roles for themselves based on your brokenness. Whether they played the savior, the wise advisor, the victim of your chaos, or the one who tried to help but had to walk away, it all hinged on you staying wounded. As long as you were hurting, they had a role to play, an excuse to cling to, and a version of the story that made them look good. They depended on you playing the damaged character. They needed you to be the unstable one, the one with the issues, the one who needed fixing, attention, correction, or save. They kept you in that box because it justified their superiority, their gossip, their mistreatment, or their fake kindness. You being broken made them feel powerful, relevant, or even righteous. They needed your wounds to keep looking like heroes. Your pain gave their life purpose. It made their cruelty seem like tough love. It made their manipulation look like wisdom. As long as you were falling apart, they could frame themselves as the ones who held it all together. Your dysfunction gave them a spotlight, even if they were the ones who helped cause it. But now that you're healed, whole and glowing, the play is ruined. The mask is off. The story no longer fits. The character they built in their mind doesn't match the reality of who you've become. You're no longer reactive. You don't need validation. You don't fit into their narrative anymore. And that's destroying the entire performance they've rehearsed for years. Your healing pulled the curtain down mid-scene, and without a role to control, they're left with tears and no script. They don't know how to function now. They don't know how to explain who they are without your pain. They're scrambling, not because you changed, but because they stayed the same, and now everyone can see it. You took back your identity, you rewrote your part, and now they're lost, exposed and irrelevant in a show that no longer needs their character. Your healing wasn't just personal, it was disruptive, and now they're grieving the power they lost when you finally got free. Number 12. They didn't expect you to become the storm after surviving one. They didn't expect you to become the storm after surviving one. They assumed you'd crawl out of the chaos, barely breathing, begging for support, or worse, never come out at all. In their minds, what they put you through was supposed to finish you. That pain, that betrayal, that trauma, it was meant to silence you, crush your confidence, and turn you into someone who'd never rise again. They thought the chaos would leave you shattered. They were sure you'd fall apart. They expected to hear stories about how you spiraled, gave up, or couldn't recover. They looked forward to your name becoming a cautionary tale. They mistook your stillness for defeat, and your isolation for collapse. But the truth is, you weren't falling apart. You were being rebuilt. Instead, it forged you. Every insult became fuel. Every disappointment turned into clarity. Every loss stripped away what wasn't meant to stay and sharpened what was real. That storm didn't break you. It baptized you. It initiated you. It turned your softness into strength and your heartbreak into discernment. While they were watching, waiting for your collapse, you were undergoing spiritual transformation. You didn't just survive the fire, you became the flame. You emerged stronger, wiser, and more powerful than they ever imagined. You carry an energy now that can't be manipulated or dimmed. Your presence is different. Your boundaries are firm. Your spirit is unshakable. The fire they thought would consume you only activated everything divine inside of you. Now you walk into rooms and shift atmospheres. You carry peace with thunder in your pocket. And now they're realizing they created their own destroyer by trying to break you. Their mistreatment shaped the very version of you they can't touch. Their sabotage trained your instincts. Their betrayal taught you how to never be caught off guard again. You were the one they thought they could mold into a victim. But now you've become the force that exposes everything fake around them, not with revenge, but with presence. You're not angry, you're awakened. You're not dangerous because of what you do. You're dangerous because of who you've become. And the worst part for them is knowing it all happened because of what they tried to do to you. Number 13. They're not crying over you. They're crying over who they can never be. They're not crying over you. They're crying over who they can never be. On the surface, it looks like regret-y. It looks like they miss you. But if you dig deeper, it's not about you at all. It's about what you represent, a version of themselves. They've tried to fake, but could never actually become. You started reflecting a level of inner strength and spiritual weight that made them feel exposed. You didn't just grow, you evolved in ways they secretly wished they could, but never had the discipline or the soul to do. Watching you evolve, ascend, and transform unlocked a painful truth. It shattered their illusions. You became a mirror, and what they saw staring back at them wasn't pretty. You had grace under pressure. They folded under gossip. You stood in truth. They depended on image. You kept your heart pure in the fire. They chose shortcuts, manipulation, and shallow wins. Now they can't run from the comparison anymore. You've become a living example of what it looks like when someone chooses healing, elevation, and obedience to their higher calling. They don't have your capacity, your calling, or your courage, and they know it deep down. They know they couldn't have survived what you went through and still come out whole. They know they wouldn't have carried themselves with the level of spiritual integrity you showed. They wouldn't have forgiven. They wouldn't have kept going without applause. And they absolutely wouldn't have been able to remain kind when it was easier to be cruel. That's what haunts them. Not your success, but the divine strength they'll never be able to replicate. It's not envy, it's identity collapse. Envy is wanting what someone else has, but what they're experiencing goes deeper. They're realizing that the image they projected, strong, unbothered, wise, was never real. They've built a life on imitation while you built yours on authenticity. Watching you walk fully in your purpose is crumbling the lie they built their entire personality around. They're mourning a version of themselves that never existed. They're grieving the fantasy that they were ever you, that they had your grace, your resilience, your heart. Now they see clearly they don't, and they never did. That's what has them crying, spiraling, and breaking down behind closed doors. Because it's not just about losing you, it's about finally seeing who they never had the power to become. Number 14. They finally see you with a divine test they failed. They finally see you with the divine test they failed. Not just someone passing through their life, but a sacred checkpoint, a soul sent to expose what was hidden in theirs. You were never just a person to them. You were a reflection, a test from the divine, a mirror wrapped in skin. And now that the dust has settled, the test is over, and the results are irreversible. They're sitting in the rubble of their own decisions, horrified. They treated you like an extra when you were the main event. Life gave them a chance to grow, to love right, to evolve, to do better, and they chose pride, gossip, sabotage, and control. You weren't sent into their life to worship them or bow to their ego. You were sent to illuminate it, and instead of rising, they recoiled. Instead of humbling themselves, they fought you. Instead of healing, they tried to harm you. They didn't just fail you, they failed themselves. They fumbled a sacred assignment. They were given access to someone rare, someone spiritually potent, someone divinely protected, and they acted like they had forever. They thought they could manipulate you, betray you, downplay your worth, and never face consequence. But heaven doesn't forget assignments, and spiritual law doesn't curve grades. You weren't their downfall, their choices were. You didn't retaliate, you didn't curse them, you didn't orchestrate any revenge. All you did was survive with your integrity intact, and that's what's haunting them now. The realization that everything they did to someone who was sent to bless them, someone who could have elevated them had they been ready, someone who carried light they tried to bury, someone who was a divine opportunity in disguise. They now sit with a truth they cannot fix with apologies. There's no redo, no rewind, no way to erase what they did to you. And every tear they cry now isn't just about regret, it's about recognition that the nobody they overlooked, mistreated, and mocked was actually the divine presence sent to test their character. And they didn't just fail the test, they failed spectacularly. Now all they can do is live with the echo of what they threw away. They thought they had the upper hand. They thought they'd broken you, discarded you, erased you. But what they didn't realize was that you were never the one being tested alone. They were. And while you walked through fire and came out refined, they crumbled under the weight of their own ego. Now the roles have reversed. You're not the victim anymore. You're the evidence, the proof that divine justice doesn't miss a thing. The calm in your spirit is louder than any argument they could ever make. Your growth is screaming through every corner of their conscience, and the tears they cry in secret, that's not just guilt. That's the weight of spiritual failure. That's what it feels like when you wake up and realize you mishandled a chosen one. They've lost something that can never be replaced. Divine access. And that's what haunts them now. Not your glow-up, not your silence, but the undeniable fact that you were sent as a gift, a mirror, a lesson, and they failed. Their downfall isn't punishment, it's exposure. And the scariest part, you didn't even lift a finger. Your elevation was the judgment. So keep walking, and keep glowing, keep rising. The tears behind their doors are not your responsibility. They're just confirmation that you were always the real one. And now the world is starting to see it too. If this message hit your soul and pulled the truth out of your spirit, don't just scroll away. Stay connected. Subscribe to the channel right now if you know you're one of the chosen. This space is built for warriors like you. Those who've been through the fire and came out glowing. Like the video if you've ever been misunderstood, underestimated, or spiritually attacked, but still kept your integrity. Drop a comment below. Let the world know you're still standing. Your story matters more than you think. And share this with someone who needs to be reminded that divine justice does not miss. You're not crazy. You're not alone. And you are most definitely not defeated. Let's keep shaking the system, one truth at a time.